fresh out the oven.
What is crackin', everybody? It's Mega Pieman here, and welcome to Pieman's Playlist. This is a series which I go over different songs that I listen to on a regular basis to introduce them to a wider audience. Maybe you've heard of these songs before, maybe you haven't, but I'm going to tell you why I enjoy them, and hopefully you will enjoy them as well. Be sure to click on the annotations on the screen to take you to the particular songs, as I will not be playing them in this video in order to avoid copyright strikes. If I could, I would, but I can't, so I won't. Alright, let's get started, shall we? I have a tendency to listen to a lot of different kinds of music, and the first track we're going to be taking a look at here is Dirty Woman by Pain, off of the album You Only Live Twice, released in 2011. So, Pain is a group or a band. It seems to mostly just be one particular person who's pushing this particular music that's been around for a little bit, and while I enjoyed a couple of the tracks off of Pain's original album, I've lost track of the group and honestly didn't know they released more albums until somewhat recently. Listen to their tracks, they generally have a good sound to them in my personal opinion, but the lyrics are really terrible and they're pretty freaking bad. There is one particular newish song released from Nuclear Blast Records. I believe that is the people that Pain are working with, that I think it's called Call Me, in which you have Pain featuring the singer from Supertown, which is an interesting combination of music put together, but while the guy from Supertown has a really good voice, and while that song has some pretty good music to it, gosh, the lyrics are so bad. They are just, whoo, they're terrible. They are really bad. But going through their songs, now that I've realized they've released more than just one particular album, I came across a track called Dirty Woman, which has a bit of an AC/DC mixed with Slipknot vibe to it, which is really weird. Some of the music, the basic riffs of the guitar, has a bit of a psychosocial feel from the Slipknot album. I believe it came off of All Hope Is Gone was that one. I don't entirely remember. I don't listen to Slipknot anywhere near as much as I used to, because I guess I've expanded my taste in music since back in when I was in high school. But they combined that along with, like, that weird high-pitch, not necessarily high-pitch, but screamy vocals that you get from AC/DC, which is a weird combination. I'm talking about, like, second wave, like, Back in Black forward AC/DC, not the original AC/DC. It's a bit of a weird combination, but it does make for an interesting particular track, having a bit of a heavier kind of a sound mixed with those kind of a vocals. I like it. It's a little bit, the lyrics are kind of yeah, as Pain's lyrics are generally always kind of yeah, but the combination of those two sounds together, it's definitely interesting. I'd recommend giving it a shot. So if you happen to like that singing sound of AC/DC, or like the bit of a heavier sound for the psychosocial era of Slipknot, then check out Dirty Woman by Pain. It's interesting. I do enjoy it, and maybe you will as well. Alright, so the second track we'll be talking about today is Born Too Slow by The Crystal Method featuring John Garcia off of their album Legion of Boom. John Garcia, if you are unfamiliar with that name, was the lead singer of a group called Cuss, and he definitely does a pretty good job in this particular track. I really, really like that guitar, that da-na-na-na-da-da-da-na thing that goes throughout the entire track. It starts off right at the beginning of the song and goes through the whole entire thing. Now, when it comes to the sort of music that Crystal Method make with that very electronica-heavy kind of a sound, you get a lot of groups who they'll pick one particular sound and they'll repeat it ad nauseum throughout a particular song. And that is sort of done a little bit with this track, with that guitar sound that guitar sound that is in this particular track, but I really like it to the point that it doesn't become annoying, and the song is, it's 2 minutes and 59 seconds. It's not that long of a track as it is. With the vocals by John Garcia, he does a really fantastic job just belting out the chorus there, even though he doesn't say a whole lot in this particular track. It really fits with the sort of electronica vibe that the Crystal Method is going with for this track, and it comes together to sound different. I like a lot of different sounding music, and it definitely sounds different while keeping even though slow is in the name of the title, it definitely does not feel like a slow song. It's a song that moves. It's a song that kind of gets you amped up to go out and do stuff. So, check it out. The next track we're taking a look at is Endless Night by Graveyard. That was released in 2012. I'm not entirely sure what album this was off of, but Graveyard is a group that I've been very hit or miss on. They take a very big 60s kind of a vibe to a lot of their music, if I had to pick a particular way to try and tell you the kind of music that they make. It's got like a 60s early rock, not necessarily early rock, but early rock to heavy metal kind of a thing, you know, when there was a lot of like Black Sabbath era, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I hope I'm being clear on this. I'm doing this kind of off the cuff, so I don't know how well I am at explaining things, but Graveyard is not a group that I'm super a big fan of. They are very, very talented musicians, but a lot of their songs are kind of slow and uninteresting in my particular opinion. That is not Endless Night. Endless Night is a very short track. It is only 2 minutes and 47 seconds, but it is a very rockin' track. It moves a lot in this particular song, and it reminds me a lot of a band like Clutch. The lead singer of this song doesn't have the same kind of a voice as somebody like Clutch, but his voice matches the fast-paced sound of the music very, very, very well. Like as I said before, Graveyard is a very talented group, even if their music isn't necessarily something that I particularly like a whole lot of. I think the only other song that I really like by this group is a song called The Apple in the Tree or something along those particular lines. But this track, it's a very fast-moving track, it's a very rock-moving track, and I'd say check it out if you're interested in that kind of music. The next track we're looking at is Dead City Radio and the New Gods of Supertown by Rob Zombie off of his album Venomous Rat Regeneration Vendor from 2013. So the past couple of albums that Rob Zombie has put out have had some of the most ridiculous names that I have ever heard in my life. I mean, his earlier albums like Hellbilly Deluxe and that kind of a thing, or Hellbilly, not Hillbilly, Hellbilly Deluxe, it was a bit of a play on words, but the past couple of albums and a lot of the songs off it have had really long and complicated names that are just kind of weird, but also rather creative. So this particular track isn't quite as heavy as some of his earlier tracks like Dragula and Super Beast. It's not quite as heavy, doesn't feel quite as industrial, I guess you could say, as some of those earlier tracks, but it still very much has that guitar sound that he's had throughout a lot of his discography, even though this particular track, in my opinion, feels a lot more rock-oriented than some of his other stuff. The chorus, in my opinion, is really cool. It got this, like, organ kind of piano sound going on in the background that I find to be really kind of catchy, and in between the chorus for the different verses, instead of singing them, he does this kind of radio DJ impression that fits with the radio theme of the entire song, hence the name Dead City Radio. I'm not entirely sure where the New Gods of Supertown come in with the song, as I don't believe that phrase is said in the entire track, but in my opinion, it's a song that it's a bit of an earworm for me. And if you happen to like old Rob Zombie, or if you're interested in checking out some of his new stuff, some of his new stuff's been a little bit weird. I kind of lost track of this particular artist since Sick Bubblegum, since that was a weird track. But if you're interested in checking it out, seeing what Rob Zombie's up to these days, you can do worse than Dead City Radio in the New Gods of Supertown. Next up is Paradise Circus by Massive Attack. This song is off of the album Heligoland or something like that. Heligoland? I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce that, from 2010. Massive Attack is a group that I have not liked a single song I've heard by this group outside of this one. If you've ever heard of Massive Attack, you've probably been introduced to them the way I was introduced to them. That was with the intro to the TV show House MD. Their song Teardrops on the Fire was used for that intro part, and it's that intro is the best part of that song, in my opinion, is that intro bit they used for the show. I haven't really found a song by Massive Attack that I have enjoyed. I have enjoyed pieces of their music, and the singer, she's definitely talented. She's got a pretty good voice, but a lot of their tracks are long, slow, kind of plodding, and generally uninteresting to me, except for this one that I came across somewhat recently, Paradise Circus. The thing that I really like about this track is it's got that creepy sort of ghosty feel that you get a lot from Massive Attack, that sort of haunting sound their singer's voice gives off, but the music in the background pairs with it really well, and it doesn't feel super slow, it doesn't feel super plodding. It's got these chimes going off in the background that fit perfectly with the haunting melody that it's trying to kind of paint together, and I think it really does a fantastic job of capturing what Massive Attack is trying to do with their music, with the haunting melodies. It does a fantastic job of encapsulating in one song what the group is trying to do without some of the downfalls that they've had in their other tracks, in my particular opinion. If you are a big fan of Massive Attack and you feel differently, feel free to let me know in the comments section. These, of course, are my own personal feelings. I'm not saying what your feelings are about different kinds of music. I'm saying the music I like and why I particularly like it. So, if you feel differently about the group, I know Massive Attack's been around for a while, so feel free to let me know what you think about it in the comment section, and suggest your favorite songs from the group that I could check out, and possibly find a second song from this group that I may or may not enjoy. But Paradise Circus, I believe, is one of their best tracks, at least from what I have heard of their discography, and I recommend checking it out if you've ever seen the intro to House and liked the music in there, then check this out. You might like it as well. Alright, and the final track we are going to be talking about today is False Alarm by The Weeknd. You can't say Weekend, because it's not Weekend. There's not a third E in there. It's The Weeknd. I do not like The Weeknd. I have not liked anything I have heard from this guy. Pretty much all of the songs I have heard. While his singing voice is kind of okay, his lyrics are pretty much always the same. They're generally uninteresting, and a lot of his background beats, music that goes to his songs, I find obnoxious or slow and plodding. Like that one song where the music video is him getting out of a car that he flipped with a couple other people. I know he's done collaborations with people like Daft Punk and possibly others, but False Alarm is the only song similar to the previous track that I have found from this artist that I've really enjoyed. And a big part of what I've enjoyed about this is the beats in the chorus. When it gets to that false alarm part, I really, really like the way that music matches along with what he's saying. The music for the verses fits along with those pretty well as well, even though I said well twice, which may sound a little bit odd, but I can't think of a better way to phrase that sentence at this particular time. And it keeps moving. I like songs that move. Songs that don't go anywhere and drone on for a long time, I kind of can't stand. They make me feel anxious sometimes. Some of the stuff I can be okay with for slower songs, but I like a song that moves, and False Alarm is a song that moves. It moves a lot when it goes through the verses and then hits into the chorus, and it's got a nice hook to it, I believe is the proper term. I'm not huge into musical whatnot, but I'll attempt to use musical terminology, and let's say hook. Let's say it's got a hook in there. Sure, it's got a captain hook in there. We'll go with it. We're just going with it. The lyrics themselves are basically all the lyrics that this guy has ever done. Pretty much every song I've ever heard by The Weeknd is him talking about how much of a player he is, or talking about getting it on with girls in some way. That's basically every single song that I have ever heard from this guy, which it gets kind of tiring, because you hear a lot of that stuff from the pop radio stations. I'm not a huge fan of pop. That's partially why, because a lot of it's people bragging about how much you're getting it on! How much you getting it on nowadays! I'm better than you because I make music and I get it on a lot! Yeah! But this particular track, I really do like how it builds up through its verses to get to that false alarm part of the chorus, and it's a bit earwormy, and it moves. It moves a lot. I don't know if I'm ever going to find another song by The Weeknd that I will enjoy, but I do enjoy this particular track. So if you're not a fan of The Weeknd, if you're kind of on the guy, or if you're already a big fan of the guy, or if you never even heard of him, I'd recommend then checking out this particular song. Alright, that's all I got for you guys today for this Pieman's playlist. Number 1. This is a bit of a experiment to see whether or not people are interested or care about the music that I listen to, or would be interested in checking out the music I listen to. I come across a lot of interesting music. Sometimes I just go looking through YouTube and find a bunch of tracks, and a lot of the stuff that I come across, some of it's popular, like The Weeknd, it's popular. He's a popular dude. But some of the other stuff that I listen to, like Graveyard, I think is all that popular. So just trying to share with everybody out there. Check out the music if you're interested. See if you enjoy it. Let me know in the comment section if you did. Suggest songs to me in the comment section that I may or may not have ever heard of, that may be from the same artist I've talked about, may sound somewhat similar, or just stuff that you happen to enjoy that's different. I like songs that are different. I listen to a lot of different kind of music, so hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section if you want to see more of this. I'm Omega Pieman, and I will talk to you guys later.